just gonna wait a minute to make sure that the screen that's gonna pop up is muted, so we're not hearing an echo of ourselves. It was not muted, so yay. All right. And we will call to order this regular meeting of the Easton Reading Region 9 Policy Committee at 9:03 a.m. on September 24th, 2021. Members in attendance, Chris Parkin, Gwen Denny, and myself, John Stinson. Also in attendance, our superintendent, Dr. Jason McKinnon. Yes, I got it. This is being live streamed. I'm gonna share my screen here and open up our agenda. I hope no one minds, but my intent is to start, and somebody corrected it when they posted this to correct my mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. I'm going to start calling call to order item 0. It's a computer science thing. So there's that, but also it just feels very awkward to say the first item on our list is public comment when it's item number 2. So
I would be of the opinion that call to order is not even an agenda item.
I agree with that. So I'll do that then. I'll do that from now on. So the first item we will talk about is public comment. No members of the public being present. We'll move on to the third item on our agenda, the committee member comment. Any members from committee members? Okay. Moving on to discussion and possible action. So when last we met, we were diving in on policy series, and we've for some time had standing agenda items for the CABE model policy review. And I want to get a little bit more specific to make sure that members of the public have a really good sense of sort of where we're at. And it's easy enough to track because we move slowly, sort of methodically through that CABE model policy. We're not yet at the 5,000 series in that regular review, but we've taken a pause over the course of the last 3 weeks to dive in on the recent legislation relating to bullying and anti-hazing. And so we're now going to focus on items that are found within the 5,000 series of our policy handbook, and specifically dive into discussion about that recent legislation and changes that have been suggested by CABE to policy. So any questions before we jump into that? Okay, bear with me. So I think all of the members of the committee should have received a link that this is the document that Dr. Pearson Ugal and Sarah pulled together for sort of comparing the policies across the 3 boards when we first started this exercise. I think in the ensuing conversations, we realized that it may be better, instead of Frankensteining one of these and trying to apply it across, to just sort of skip to the punchline, and that is, let's look at the most recent version of the CABE policy, and unless we have any issues, let's present this or advance this to our respective boards for first and second reading. Good, everybody on the same page? Okay.
Yeah, that is a great idea, because I was looking at the 3 columns and the 3 differences, and it was hard to just reconcile. I felt like I was in chapter 4 of my dissertation, and my advisor was asking me to go back to square one. So this is a great idea.
Good, and it's a microcosm for the overall process we've been going through for the last, I don't know, 18 months, which is, we started the conversation with, hey, let's try to reconcile all our 3 different boards' policies. And we decided that's just silly, because they're kind of a Frankenstein's monster of sort of mixed together parts. So we basically just started going through the CABE model policy and saying, under the tenets of, if there is this version of a policy and this version of the policy, and they essentially say the same thing, choose the shorter one. If there's mission and sort of aspirational language in a policy, let's put that to the side. We love the idea of having a North Star to guide us, but that's not policy. Let's just really stick to the language that helps us to adhere to sort of statutory requirements. So in any event, so I know we actually got through, I think, down to here the last time we met. Does anyone want to go back? So I think this is pages 28 through 38. So we made it a couple pages in on the last time. anyone want to go back a couple of pages and sort of review where we were and then continue, or are we good to start from here?
I think we were jumping up and down a little bit last
Okay.
time, just because there were terms that once we started making changes, it reverted back to certain defined terms and created a loop that we wanted to just sort of be cognizant of.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I don't think it's a matter of going back. It's a matter of making sure we understand where we left off with the
Right. Okay.
right through read.
Yeah, I think that's right. I will note, like, you will see very few changes in here, and that's intentional. We also are trying not to be in the business of wordsmithing on these calls. If we don't, think a word is great there, then, unless it's just really wrong. And, in this case, there was actually, I think that the way that we were characterizing the school climate became a term of art that's later defined, and so could sort of imbue a certain section of this with other language. And so we're sort of changing some things around there. All right. So I think we were at the definitions, towards the end of the definition: social emotional learning, emotional intelligence of each one of these things.
I thought we had gotten, or I see your comment from the afternoon of September 10th, I guess, because we had talked about the 17 points and things, I thought.
That's right. Yeah, I think
and sort of moving them out of this, if I may keep it simple perspective.
Yeah, there was some alternate language at the bottom that so let me just zoom to that stuff. I think it was this part right here.
There's an or shorter version. It starts on the end of 36.
Yeah. There it is. Yep. For the section of the policy pertaining to the safe school climate plan. So are we comfortable using this shorter language? I'll give everybody a minute to refresh.
Is it the time in the meeting where you increase the Zoom?
No,
that's
you missed your window. It has to be in the first 5 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Face masks and reading glasses required.
Right.
I mean, it has all the essential components.
Right.
Yeah, it does the job. What I'm sort of curious about, there's sort of the box, the note,
this guy
that I've highlighted.
Yep.
Or you've highlighted, or whoever's highlighted. That is, I think, just a drafting note that would come out of the policy itself. And then I'm wondering about the language immediately below it. Well, this doesn't seem like policy. This just seems like informative.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't need that.
Is this?
I don't care what the State Department is going to do. That doesn't impact us at all.
Right. I mean, it seems like it's language out of the legislation, right?
Yeah. They'll still be in that box as an FYI, and this should, all of this should come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's not uncommon. We've seen that before, where they, instead of just citing the law, they'll actually take excerpts from the law that are not, sort of don't pertain to our specific version of this.
Right. Now, so this is sort of where it gets a little funky for me, the way that this is drafted. This section here, the or shorter version up to the box, all makes sense. The only thing that I would probably do, if I were being really detail oriented, would take out the July 2012 reference and the Public Act 11-232 reference, because it's sort of goofy to be passing a policy that's retroactive to a law. Like, we're going to have this. That's what it's going to be.
Right.
But we've left those in before, and I don't care if they stay in at this point.
Yeah.
Everything after the box, I'm curious about the extent to which it is relevant here. Like the Board of Education in consultation with SDE and this collaborative shall provide on the SBE's website. Is that the State Board of Education? That's not a defined acronym.
I think it is State Board of Education.
So which Board of Education are we talking about? Because we don't have control over the State Board of Education's website.
Right.
Like, it seems like these three paragraphs all just come out because all we're trying to affect here is that there shall be a school climate plan that is in compliance with the law, period. That's all the policy needs to be.
Yeah.
Now, do we need to say that it will be on the website? Because that's what this change in law, effective July of 2021, will publish on the website plain language of the rights and remedies under the law. Does that need to be in the policy? The middle paragraph here?
This is strange because this would have gone into effect on July 1st. Are we doing this right now? I would bet that we're not, and I know Dr. McKinnon, it's probably unreasonable to say, hey, with your vast corporate memory, please tell us, are we doing this? I wouldn't be surprised if we're not. But
well, I'll look on the website right now.
But this went into effect July 1st and was, it's unreasonable to expect that we're able to sort of flip a switch as legislation is passed and suddenly have the supporting documents on our website. Plain language of the rights and remedies available under CGS. So it's a rights and remedies document.
10-4A and 10-4B.
Right.
We have a ER9 Safe School Climate brochure on our website.
And that could be plain language.
So there's a 47-page, there appears to be a 47-page Safe School Climate Plan on our website.
Right. And
the Safe School Climate Plan refers to Connecticut Public Act 11232, talks about it has the definition of bullying. It has
what they want is plain language for their remedies.
Rights and remedies. Basically. Right.
10-4B says that any resident of a local or regional school district or a parent or guardian of a student enrolled in the public schools who has been unable to resolve a complaint with the Board of Education of such local or regional school district may file with the State Board of Education a complaint in writing, or the State Board may initiate a complaint alleging the failure or inability of the Board of Education to implement the educational interests set forth in 10-4A. If the State Board, blah, 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 blah. It's the process for basically complaining that you haven't provided a appropriate educational environment.
Well, then shouldn't it be on the State Board's website?
Well, and that's why I'm wondering what the Board of Education,
but
Board of Education, then it says the district's website.
Right. It says district website, and it's rights and remedies available under CGS 10-4A and 10-4B. So specifically calling out in plain language.
It says, if you don't like us, here's who you complain to, is kind of the.
Right. So I think that's a to-do for us. I think this, we can.
What I'd love to see is a model from any other district as to how they carry out this.
I would be shocked if any other district is doing this, right? Like the districts that are actively involved in policy review.
I mean, this is a public act that was passed in 2019, so there's been 2 years to figure it out. The legal citation is PA 19-166.
I thought that this was like very recently passed. I thought that this was
very recently effective, not very recently passed. I think.
Okay.
I think there's a difference.
When did we get the K model policy for this? Wasn't that recent? Yeah. Sure. Okay. All right. So maybe I thought that was a part of the stuff that was passed in 20.
No, an act concerning school climates, Public Act 19-166.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to add this to the EDD as one of the things that we need to do.
Develop a plain language explanation of the rights
Right.
and remedies.
Right.
So this says that there is established a social and emotional learning and school climate advisory collaborative, and the collaborative shall develop a plain language explanation of the rights and remedies for 10.4a and 10.4b.
And then we'll post it, which is fine by me.
Right. So I believe that what we're required to do is take the collaborative's language and make that available. That all presupposes the collaborative has done that.
I think I would think of it as the collaborative is drafting that language and making it available to us if we choose to use it. If we don't choose to use it, we can draft our own plain language, because it doesn't say that we have to publish the collaborative's language here. It just says the website will have plain language version of the rights and remedies. Right.
Section 4, subsection A, the results of such investigation and verbally and by electronic mail, if parents or guardians' electronic mail addresses are known, that such parents or guardians may refer to the plain language explanation of the rights and remedies under 10.4a and 10.4b published on the internet website of the local or regional board pursuant to section 4 of this act.
Okay. And it's quite possible that all of the statutory requirements are in our brochure, and they probably are.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think to really make it accessible, calling out a section that is titled rights and remedies or plain language rights and remedies so that it's crystal clear this is compliant. Okay. So larger question. I think this stays in, but I think this goes out. And bear with me a minute. Let me just make sure. Adjusting mode. Okay.
Each local board of education, in consultation with the State Department and the Social and Emotional Learning Advisory Collaborative, shall provide on the internet website of the department training materials to school administrators regarding the prevention, intervention, and discrimination. Even the statute doesn't make sense.
Shocker.
So I'm looking on the ER9 website, and essentially every school has the Safe School Climate Plan, which provides the overall bullying policy, and then it requires all the reporting forms and what the school and the district is doing to support safe school climate in the district. And then it has another link to an anonymous reporting form, which is good.
Yep.
I just think we need to add another link there that takes us to that simply says, if you have not received any support, if you are not satisfied with the process, then this is the information that the state provides.
Yeah.
I just think we can satisfy the policy that way.
Yeah. Or highlight in the existing documents, this is here are rights and remedies. Right.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So let's, maybe we'll work our way up because we do have this other optional language as well. I mean, help me. Is this essentially optional language for the entire, basically pages 28 through 38? It is, right? It's the version that you talked about before, Chris, right? We'll be compliant with the law, right? We could take our entire policy book and just say, we will be compliant with the law, period. But then it becomes the onus, the sort of burden of understanding gets shifted to Jane and John Q. Public to go read the law and
go read Title 10 or Section 10 of the General Statutes,
and then
have a good day,
and then interpret it. And then no, thank you. Right. So, it behooves us to create a sort of simple, understandable version of policy that does more than just says, go read the law. If I feel like this is insufficient, I think this is a bit too aggressive.
Yeah, I don't like the sort of mandatory language in this. Because I always see this from the, what if I am on the receiving end of this, or I'm trying to challenge the fact that this is carried out properly. This effectively says we're going to have a bullying prevention program that shall, and then I guess it says strive. It shall strive to, so it's mandatory and permissive.
Right.
So it shall strive to be characterized by warmth. Like it shall strive to be where adults act as authorities. Okay. And positive role models.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything.
Too much left to interpretation and so I think we're not using the optional language.
No. Where's that footnote related to?
This here?
Or is that just additional language that there's another?
I mean,
that's a continuation. The optional language is brackets, basically. And now we're into a new section that's below the Board of Education in consultation with SDE.
Yeah.
And then another alternate language in brackets here. The superintendent shall develop rules and procedures which carry out this policy is implied in all policies.
Correct. Okay. We're not using this, correct?
Get rid of it.
Yep. All right. We have our citations here. So good. Working up. I think we're planning on keeping this. This provide on the State Board of Education's website training materials. This is it's one thing to highlight that these will be available, but if this means the local Board of Education, which it must, because then it says in consultation with the State Department of Education, shall provide on the State Board of Education's website. That makes no sense. That's not something we do. So this can't be, it really just can't be shall provide. Shall link to available blah, 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 which the State Department of Education shall provide. That works. But I don't think that we need this. It's not something for us to do. Agreed?
Yep, I agree.
Okay. And so this is a shorter section talking about the Safe School Climate Plan. I'm just going to find the longer version. Not there. No. Tables, go away. There we go.
This is just sort of a gripe, but in the legal references, they reference 10-222D, which is the appropriate statute. And then it says, as amended by all these public acts, which then they cite all the public acts. You don't need to say both.
Yeah.
The statute is a statute. The public act gets codified into 10-222D, and then the public act is of no independent effect.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. But
it's weird.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So here we're talking about the coordinator, and the coordinator shall implement the climate plan, but we've yet to articulate what that plan is. Hold on, let me just double check. Shall approve the Safe School Climate Plan. Here we are. Section pertaining to the Safe School Climate Plan. Where is the section pertaining to the Safe School Climate Plan? So it's not up here. So it's going to be later in this document. I feel like this is, I think we're going to come back to this.
The state school climate plan is what you have highlighted as part of the policy. Will develop a state school climate plan, and then there's the 17 elements of it that we're going to take out.
Let me just bookmark this. Okay. So there's our 17 elements. Are you saying the 17 elements are the safe school climate plan?
Well, scroll up. The prior 2 paragraphs are sort of a summary of it.
Examples of bullying behavior.
I see on 34 bridging to 35.
Okay, so it's
where
after
I am.
this. Yep, it's after this. I got it. Okay. There it is. Okay. It just feels like the safe school climate plan should be ahead of that because we're referencing it multiple times, but okay. Okay, so this is where we have the alternate versions.
Right. So here we say such plan shall establish deadlines for reporting, investigating, notifying parents of bullying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Each school shall complete an assessment, period, full stop. So in my view, this says you'll have a plan. It'll have as essential elements these things.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 years, you'll review it in accordance with the law. You'll collect assessments, period, full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Then below, it says the plan will address the existence of bullying and the plan shall. Here's 17 things the plan shall do. And we talked about taking all of those out.
Right.
And basically relying upon the broad language of what the plan needs to do. And then moving the rest of this into regulation, or otherwise not specifically in the policy.
And so just to be clear, what we're saying is that these 2 paragraphs replace the 17 items, not the description of ahead of those 17 items.
It's that you take those 2 paragraphs and then you cut everything until, well, actually, then there's the or shorter version.
Right. That's what the highlighted part here. What I'm wondering is this a replacement for the 17 items, or is this a replacement for the 17 items as well as this section here? Does this replace the entire from here down to 17, or is this just a replacement for the 17? I don't actually mind.
It's the same. It's redundant. The short version is the 2 introductory paragraphs.
Yeah. Okay.
Same thing,
but not the 17 items. So it's saying the shorter version is cut the 17 items.
Correct. It's either take the whole thing and the 2 introductory paragraphs, or just take the 2 introductory paragraphs. And for some reason, they've published it twice.
Yeah.
Instead of putting in brackets, longer version, include this.
Yeah. That's a better way of organizing this.
Imagine.
All right. So essentially, if we're saying remove the 17 items,
and it's remove or shorter version because it's the same as the language we've kept.
That's right.
We've created our own shorter version the same way.
By way of cutting the 17 items. All right, now we're cooking. We've got this guy, so it's still just working up from the bottom here. We've got these 2 pieces. I think this was instruction here. Safe School Climate Committee shall. Safe School Climate Committee. This reads a lot better now. Okay, Safe School Climate Committee. And this is the existing language. Cool. Any issues with this content?
What page is that?
It should be page 34.
34.
Can I see can you scroll down, John?
Sure. This gets into those two paragraphs that we're looking at before.
I wonder about being this granular about the mandate of the committee.
About the 8 items, you mean?
Yes, and I'm looking at 6 now, and I'm just thinking of so I'm always a worst case scenario person, and a how would I use the policy against the district if there was a problem. So let's say hypothetically that I had a kid who was the victim of a bullying incident. And then I complained to the State Board of Education that there's an ineffective school climate in ER9.
Sure.
And I use as an example of that in all of the time that I've been involved here, I have never seen the school climate committee educate parents or guardians on issues related to bullying or teen violence once. I've never heard the words teen dating violence in my life. And so how is it that you're carrying out the obligations of the school climate committee? If you're not doing that, can I really trust you to review all of the complaints and all the other things? And it just gives rise to questions about the fidelity with which the tasks are being carried out. And I think it would be great if we had a robust school climate committee that was out in the community, really like talking these issues up and providing this education. But it becomes a lift for somebody to actually do that. And I'm just always careful about imposing obligations to a policy that are allowed to wither on the vine because nobody's paying sufficient attention to those obligations.
Yeah, agreed.
Completely agree.
And I don't know what the teen dating violence looks like for kindergarten and first grade parents, right? So there's something here that needs to be adjusted. The word educate, I think it's, if instead we say to provide materials, right? That's what the brochures are attempting to do, right? Provide materials which highlight relevant topics with, in sort of age appropriate topics related to bullying and teen dating violence, and make that available to students, school employees, parents, guardians. So do we want to try to adjust this?
John, where did you see the word educate?
It's the first word on 6 here, right? I feel like that's a big word, right? Especially if assumed as a part of the word educate is that we successfully educate, like, dude,
Yeah,
very hard. So
is that part of the statute that we're supposed to be doing that? Or so I'd
be shocked.
I cannot
like this
imagine that it
obligation.
is.
It'd be a very poorly written statute if that's the case.
Well, again, that doesn't mean it's not.
But I think if we just put a little bit of context around this, because we do have brochures for each school, and that's like, do we think brochures are the ideal way to educate? No, but it's an arrow, right? It's a part of our sort of the means of education. So I would say something more like provide educational materials to students, school employees, parents, and guardians of students on issues related. Like that works.
The State Department is obligated to provide developmentally appropriate strategies to prevent bullying and teen dating violence, but that's through a training of educators obligation.
Or instead of provide, maybe make available, because that could come in the form of.
Okay, here I found the statute where they're just parroting these 8 bullets.
Yep.
Each local and regional board of education shall develop and implement a safe school climate plan to address the existence of bullying and teen dating violence in its schools. Such plans shall enable reporting, enable parents to file reports of suspected bullying, require employees who witness them to report, require the specialists to investigate, require the specialist to review anonymous reports, include a prevention and intervention strategy as provided by 10-222G, that's the State Department's obligation, for school employees to deal with teen dating violence, provide inclusion of language in student codes of conduct, notification, where'd it go? Provide the inclusion of language, document maintain records, direct case by case, prohibit bullying on school grounds, require the school employees annually train. Yeah, there's nothing in here about educating. And
Do we have any issue with leaving this one in, though, if under the guise of just appropriate educational materials, age appropriate educational materials?
instead of provide, you might want to say make available.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the broader question of whether or not the activities of school climate committee are subject to regulation as opposed to policy, beyond the sort of broad establishment of the committee.
This whole section. I'm sorry, there we go. This whole section of the policy is pretty standard, like the establishment of a district coordinator, a safe school climate specialist, the development of a committee, what the committee does, the submission of the plan, administration of the survey. We've been doing this in school districts for years.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so are we good now with this section? Basically, Safe School Climate Committee and what they do. Any other edits we want to make?
and just scanning the Safe School Climate Plan that you have on the website already, it had all of these components.
Yep. I think the more recent language would be this piece here.
So this is going to be a technical point, but in A, it says including but limited to at least one teacher selected by the exclusive bargaining unit for certified employees. At least in the Easton and Reading districts, there are 2 bargaining units that cover certified employees.
So do we just want to say units?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Cool.
I don't anticipate it being an issue at all, but
Just in case. That's tri-board edit. Okay. So now we're coming up to the Safe School Climate Specialist section. And the district Safe School Climate Coordinator. So here now we're talking sort of roles and responsibilities. See, I'm always struggling with these to develop the mental model for the objects that we're dealing with. And it's only now that I'm starting to really grapple with it. And I had to go from the bottom up, I think. So we've got our coordinator and our climate specialist.
John, do you want to accept all of the edits in sort of a clean document, and then we can see if it makes sense and move to recommend it?
Sure. Do we want to review this first, make any edits, and then apply?
Okay.
I think, let me just double check. I think that's the last. Every other section I think we've touched on.
Yeah, we're gonna take out all those boxes.
Yep.
That nonsense.
Yeah. Let's just hit this guy quickly. And I don't see any new content here.
I do not know what the mental health first aid training is. Mental health first aid training.
I know that that's been offered in our community to parents on and off for a number of years.
Okay.
By the school? Have we offered it though?
Mental health. I have a question mark there. I don't know what that is.
What's funny there is it says that obligation only applies for 1 year, the way it's written. Complete for the year beginning 2014 and only do it once. It doesn't say all staff need to be trained. It says offer it once. 7 years ago.
Right.
We should figure out what that is and figure out whether or not it's a good idea for us to continue doing that, which it probably is.
The Commissioner of Mental Health and Addiction Services, in consultation with the Commissioner of Education, shall administer a mental health first aid training program for the school year commencing July 2014. The Commissioner of DMIS shall provide training to any person appointed to serve as the district school climate coordinator. For the school year commencing 2015, the Commissioner shall provide training to any person appointed to serve as the coordinator for the school who didn't serve as the coordinator for the prior year. No district school climate coordinator should be required to successfully complete mental health first aid training more than once. Each local or regional board may require teachers, nurses, counselors, or others to participate in such training. That's Connecticut General Statute 17A-453H.
I wonder if this is a part of the process of becoming a school climate coordinator.
A school climate coordinator is required to have this training.
Okay.
So if your school climate coordinator has been doing it forever and they've had this training 7 years ago, it's just not on anybody's radar.
Right.
But I could see why if you swapped the school climate coordinator and weren't aware of the requirement, you would just not think about it.
So I would imagine it would be useful to change this language so that it calls out that's a part of what the
school climate coordinator shall because, well, it's already the preface.
Oh, yeah.
The
Go ahead.
coordinator shall complete
it's-
mental health first aid training provided by the commissioner of DEMAS.
Right. Successfully complete. We don't need the stuff about the year. Perfect. Okay, that's good. All right. Funding for the school-based bullying intervention, blah, blah, blah. Funding. That's interesting. Public-private philanthropic sources. Okay. Killing the box, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are 9 elements of our prevention and intervention strategy. I actually don't see comments here. And it's possible that's just because this is all old stuff. Anyone have issues here?
I always, the whole the teen dating violence education from kindergarten to, high school.
Yep.
We could leave it in there, but we're not providing teen dating violence education to elementary kids.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's grade appropriate bullying and teen dating
Right.
violence. So obviously, the kindergarten side, it would be bullying related. And
yeah, emphasis on the grade appropriate. Yep. Okay, now looking at the 21 elements along with a couple of paragraphs here for, sorry, just going up to the next section. Yikes. Examples of bullying behaviors. So this I know we've gone through before. Do we have any specific, and again, like the mental model is what just kills me here. This is a major section. Thank you. Any thoughts about, I know we've already spent time on this, but any thoughts about anything in this section, the examples of bullying behaviors?
So you're looking at 1 through 7.
Yep. And then we'll go on to, the next one. We need a section title. These are bullying behaviors. This is impact.
So I'm on the paragraph right where you are now. Or through use of an electronic device.
Yep.
Or an electronic mobile device owned least. So
an electronic device is an electronic device. You don't have to say it's mobile or stationary.
Right. The question is whether owned, leased, or used by is intended to modify electronic device or just electronic mobile device. Because if it's not designed to modify an electronic device, then the policy covers any use of electronic device at any time, anywhere, which I don't think is the intention.
Yeah, if we just, how it reads now works, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, actually, no, because I think the broader definition here is then modified by if such bullying creates a hostile environment at school. So if I'm using a personal device to bully you personally through your personal device, it is a school problem or issue if that bullying creates an issue for you at school. If I cyberbully you through my own accounts and devices on your own accounts and devices, but the result of that cyberbullying is that it creates a hostile environment for school for you, then it is covered by the policy, and then you can't have electronic device modified by own, leased, or used. That would be too narrow.
Then we kill
And you
the,
can take out the own, leased, or used part.
right.
So if you engage in bullying on school, I mean, what you're almost trying to say in this whole prefatory sentence is students who engage in any act of bullying on or off school grounds, on or off school time, is bullying if.
Yeah, if we say, I mean, just like use of an electronic device or electronic mobile device, whether on or off school grounds, you don't need to say at a bus stop, in the air, would you eat it with a fox? Would you eat it with a box? Right? It's on or off school grounds. That's pretty broad. In perpetuity throughout the universe.
This is trying to say thou shalt not interfere with the educational process, regardless of where or when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what the prefatory language is trying to do, because it just creates a whole labyrinth to walk through in words. Now, maybe Dr. McKinnon can provide some context, because I don't want to create a policy that is too broad either, and creates the school is policing every interaction between kids anywhere, anytime. So I want
such bullying helps, right? So the if such bullying, right? So what we're saying is any bullying that occurs, whether on or off school grounds, or through the use of an electronic device.
I think it's, let's just use threats and intimidation as one of the examples of bullying.
Right.
If you threaten somebody during school, on school grounds, that's bullying per se, and we're going to take an issue with it.
Yes.
If you threaten somebody outside of school, it is bullying, but it is only the school's problem if that threat creates a hostile environment for the victim or
Correct.
whatever else.
Correct. I think that's right.
Is that fair, Dr. McKinnon?
It's the only problem is, and I was a school principal for a lot of years, is that how do you measure what the impact is in school sometimes, right? So you could have two students who bully each other on a travel soccer team.
Yep.
They're on a bus traveling to a game. It's got nothing to do with the school. And it's a bullying issue. When does it become a bullying issue? On Monday when the kids come back to school, right? Do we see evidence that there's an impact in the classroom?
And it would have to be these three things, right?
Right. And
One
sometimes,
right?
and oftentimes you don't see the impact in the classroom, because as an administrator, you go down and you receive a complaint from a parent about bullying on a Sunday for a travel soccer game, and you go down and talk to the teacher and you say, okay, well, these two students are in your classroom. Do you see an issue between these two students? Never. They're best friends, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen an issue there. Well, how are they getting along in school? Great. They just collaborated on a math project. So it is challenging for a school when bullying does happen outside of a school, when we don't know the circumstances of what happened, because we're hearing it from one side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, bullying is a very hot topic, right? People feel very passionate about it,
right?
Whether you're the victim or the perpetrator, because no parent is going to say, "Oh, yes, my child was a bully." So it is difficult, and at the high school level, it's even more challenging when they bully each other through Snapchat or something,
right?
And the message disappears, and you've got no evidence of the message even taking place.
Right.
But you have a complaint, and if you don't see evidence in school, then really you can't signal that it's bullying.
Yeah, I think this section is really important to that, right? This section helps you to see the manifestation, to say manifestations of that bullying equate to bullying. We don't have to see the act. We don't have to, it doesn't have to happen during school hours or on school grounds, but the manifestation of that, if it manifests as hostile environment at the school, infringes on the rights of the victim at school, substantially disrupts the educational process, then that elevates that to something that we're gonna be involved in, right?
Yeah,
but I think we need to be very careful about sort of how we word that.
This section reminds me of sexual harassment policy, which I don't know where you are in the process of that, but there's a part in that policy that talks about kind of the burden of proof and what the standard is going to be. Is the standard kind of reasonable doubt, or is it clear and convincing evidence?
Right. Well, and it also leads us to think about the ways that we can tune ourselves so that we can detect this kind of thing, right? Because those two soccer players who were best friends and worked on a project together, that all of that can be true, and there can still be a substantial disruption to the educational process that we may or may not be tuned to listen for.
I mean, you really do have to investigate, right? So you have to talk to the families, you've got to talk to the students, you've got to talk to the teachers and the staff members, and sometimes there's not a clear link,
right,
between you don't see the evidence of the hostile environment in school,
right? Yeah,
but that doesn't mean though that as a school we're not going to have conversations with the families and try to repair the relationship and do what we can to make sure everyone's safe and feels welcome and successful in school. We still do those things anyway, but and it may have come down to a coach on that team who may have created the hostile environment on the bus himself.
What are you talking about?
That's right. That never
Coaches
happens.
would never do that.
That's right.
All coaches are Ted Lasso. I'm convinced.
Right.
I'm reading about why we don't have volunteer parent coaches at Barlow. It's a thing.
Yeah. So, all right. So I think go ahead.
The language, even though it's a little wishy-washy, the language about on school grounds, at a school sponsored event, on the bus, not on the bus, the electronic device, it's all language I've seen hundreds of times. That is the standard boilerplate language, and you can change it if you need to, but I'm fine with it either way, because in the end it comes down to, did bullying occur and is it really impacting the student in school or not?
Yeah. I would suggest, I know we're over our hour limit we generally give ourselves here. So I would suggest we come back and start in this section in particular next week.
As a practical matter, what would be great is if, John, you could sort of circulate a clean of everything that we've sort of agreed to at this point,
Yep.
include Maureen on that, obviously.
Yep.
So that we can get to a point where we quickly adopt this, because we have an opportunity through October in that
Right.
all three boards have 2 regular meetings in October
Right.
because
Yep.
of the tri-board.
Yep.
So the policy could be put through both readings through October, and we could have it in effect by Halloween, which I think would be helpful.
I love that.
If we get
And
it
I also-
adopted next week.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I also like the idea, pardon me, that we actually doing our second reading in that tri-board, because it's a topic that saw a lot of light last year, but not in a direct way. And I think that it would be really nice for us to be very upfront and to say, hey, we care a lot about this. We spent weeks on this. We had our new superintendent weigh in and actively participate in the conversation, et cetera, et cetera.
And frankly, this is a policy where I could see people wanting to wordsmith it.
Yep.
And we can't have 3 different policies come out of this process. It needs to,
Right.
that's,
Right.
yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll pick up from there next time. I'll apply these changes and just recirculate it. What I'll do is I'll take all of the sort of side-by-side stuff and just move it to a separate document. We won't lose that, but I'll just move it to a separate document. So this is a cleaner document and easier to search, et cetera. All right, good. So that will take us to public comment. No members of the public being present. Committee member comment.
Welcome, Dr. McKinnon, to Policy Pals on Friday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Gwen. Absent objection, we are adjourned at 10:05 a.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care.